Okay, let's let Shauna finish her story. Yeah, it's been one of those evenings.
Anyway, I don't know how much
Bryn
everybody heard.
Inn.
Yeah, it was the Bryn Hotel.
Bryn Hotel.
It used to be called the Campbell Inn. I never knew it when it was a hotel. I wasn't alive yet. Bryn Hotel. So we use money as a trigger object because the owner, Mr. Bryn, I didn't know his first name at the time, had a heart attack and died while counting money in his room. So we left money as a trigger object and told him that if he could guess the amount that we left on there on the dresser, that he could keep it. We would leave it there. But while we were waiting for a response some kind, we asked, if who was in the room. Wanted to make sure that it was him. What's your name? And then a male's voice came across saying Bryn. Burst DVP sessions, just listening, right afterwards. And so then the next one, what's the name of this building? What's the name of this venue? And again, last name came through, Bryn. And so we were like, so to him, to me, he was saying, it was the Bryn. That was his place, So obviously to him, it was still his hotel and not the restaurant that I had known it as.
There you go.
But money was the trigger object that night.
Yep. Trigger object of money. That's a lot different. I mean, that is also knowing that his story. You wouldn't have used that as a trigger object if you didn't know his story.
No.
So that's, again, one of the reasons why I like and prefer to go into a location knowing the history and the background of it, because what would you do otherwise? You'd go in there, you try to do an EVP session. Okay, hi, who's here, what's your name, all that, and you're just like at the beginning baby steps where you went in knowing somebody that had a strong possibility of being there. You knew the story about the money and you used that as a trigger object, and boom, you got something.
Yeah.
So
I personally like to know, usually, only because with some of these older venues, you don't know if you're going to get to go in there a second time. You never know. It could burn to the ground. It could cave in on itself and nobody's able to go back in. So to me, every time that I go in is potentially the last time I'm going to get to go in. I always say, I hope, or we're going to try to come back, but that's not always a given. So to me, I want to know. I'm honest with myself, and sometimes, knowing information when I go in, I'll second guess and be like, but I already know that. So, am I now, perceiving that because I already have the answer? But then if enough energy, if enough is being thrown at you, you have to conceive it as a possibility.
Yep. So Judy Wilson's asking, so do you think they might be stuck in a loop since he still thought it was his hotel?
I mean, since he was, I couldn't say it was residual activity because it was direct response to a question that we asked, and that name didn't come across until we started speaking to him directly. So it's not like it was just, thrown out there as residual, that kind of loop. But that, kind of goes, hand in hand with Betty's question because, do you think that they're still stuck in their time? I don't know. Why wasn't it, the Campbell Inn, the restaurant that I had grown up, going into and knowing, why, would he still think of it as his unless maybe he was still in that time?
Maybe.
I don't know. Always ask for a year. You don't ever get a year. Ever.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. You don't ever get a year.
No, they'll tell you other stuff, but they won't give you a year, which would help matters immensely. It's like, then you will know, hey, they're stuck in that time. So we're like, in a sense, talking to somebody from that time, they still think they think it's that time, but then again, are we talking to somebody in that time? Like there's a space-time continuum matrix weird thing going on, or do they know that they sense that something's different, but they don't really realize what happened? So how do you know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
time could work completely different for them. So the idea of a year, is irrelevant. So,
Yeah.
and that's something we always, we try to figure out. We do throw those questions out there when we investigate. We don't usually get any answers, unfortunately. It seems like when it comes to talking about the afterlife or their current situation or what have you, we don't get anything about that. We might get something about their lives, or might get a reaction to something in particular. They might tell us about their occupation, something like that. But any details as far as like the afterlife, how it works, like what year it is, anything to do with time, space, spirituality, anything like that, nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't always ask, what year it is, but if a building has gone through several different, names, I'm kind of curious, which one is it to them? Are they aware that it is what it is in my realm of existence, or, they're like, what the hell's happening inside my building? Where'd all these people come from? I mean, it'd be nice if they would answer stuff like that, but I don't think they're allowed to sometimes.
Yeah,
There's
it
some
seems to be like
rebels
it's
out
against the
there.
rules or something.
There's some rebels out there, but for the most part, they're kind of hush hush, I think, on what they can answer.
Yeah. Bree Jones says, when I had my near-death experience, I was told it's like the traveler in Star Trek for some of them. There is no concept of time. They just are. Which is interesting. So, very well could be. I don't know. So that's, one of the things that we're always researching and trying to investigate. There's a number of different reasons why we investigate. One of them is definitely to, figure out these different secrets and mysteries of the universe in the way in which it really works. So
yeah, like Vandalia, for example. Whenever the boy that I connected with and I are like tuned in, I don't see the room that he was in before. I see it as it is now. He takes me to the place that I'm familiar with and a time that I'm familiar with it, where I assume it, was a furnished room at some point, for him, and there was a window there. But at least whenever I go back, whenever I tune in, it's just like it looked the last time I was there, the last time I saw it. So it makes me wonder what it looks like for him, But I don't know. I have no idea because he doesn't answer. I know he's there. He at least voiced that. So, but beyond that, I got nothing.
Robert says, I wonder if remodeling is a trigger object itself for spirits. Kind of, yeah. It kind of acts as a trigger object.
Yeah, especially if it's someone that's really attached to a place and they see changes going on around them. If they're able to see those changes going on and there's nothing that they can do to stop it, that can really amp up some activity. Definitely believe that.
Yep.
Rita was talking about whenever she moved into a new house there in town, the female spirit there that also used to own the cafe didn't like the stuff that she was hanging up. And so anytime she'd hang it up, it was on the floor, And her husband, at the time doing it because, he helped, pick it out. So, I mean, everybody was, good, except for, obviously. And then once she stopped putting it back up, everything was fine. So, yeah, spirits don't always like change, especially home, Some of them can coexist and be fine, and others, I told Rita, maybe either run the word, just ask, hey, I really like this. Do you mind if I hang it up? Ask permission. Maybe that was the thing. Maybe it was a respect issue. Maybe they just wanted to be included. It's still their home, and now there's new people living in it. And so they're just like, well, if we got to be here together, I'd at least like a say, because sometimes you just have to coexist.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Figure out some kind of common ground to work on.
yeah, they'll communicate with you more if you include them in stuff.
So Judy Wilson asked Mike, would you buy a haunted house and move into it? Depends on the type of haunt.
Oh, you know, the one in Jacksonville. That, oh man,
Well, that place looked haunted. We didn't
It
know if it was
looked.
or not.
it
But
looked just crazy.
yeah, it's like that looks like a haunted house. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the type of haunt. If there's something malevolent in there, no, I'm not going to want to move into it. So, then I'm open to the idea. I mean, I would prefer an older type home, but with modern amenities like wiring. Unlike this house over here, the studio's wired correctly, but the house itself is
completely-
old and yeah. But no, it's not haunted. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer an older home, and if it is haunted, as long as we can get along, then I wouldn't mind. So
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in a haunted house. I lived in a couple of them. I didn't buy them, or I didn't, rent them or whatever, knowing that they were haunted. But once I realized what was going on, I don't think it was actually the home that was haunted. It was me. They were following me home. So the home itself, not really sure. Did audio, but it was voices that I was familiar with listening at the cafe. So I knew that it was them coming to me and not, the place, being haunted. I wouldn't have a problem, buying. I would rather it not be, in my home, especially with my kids living.
well,
here.
with kids, that's different. Judy Wilson also asked, when you return to places you have been to, do the spirits remember you? I believe they do.
Yeah.
And something that we talk about a lot about building up that rapport. So, just going there one time, you're kind of, shooting arrows in the dark. You might hit on something, but a lot of times I think, the spirits are looking at you like, who the hell are you? I mean, you gotta remember they're people, and just like you meeting the person for the first time, they may be a little reluctant to talk to you. So you go back again and again and again. I believe that they do warm up and they start responding to you a lot more. And, Hans Holzer used to have a statement where he said, some of his best friends were ghosts. So, and that was from some of the more common.
Yeah. There'd be like on the Goldenrod or the cafe, teams would come and investigate and then, be new and then not really get anything and then use one of us who's been there a lot as a trigger object. And
There
all
you
of a
go.
sudden, boom, there's activity going on, and it's relevant and things are starting to, because, hey, there's this familiar face, and we always used to say, no matter where it was, whether it was the cafe, the boat, or wherever, hey, we're inviting some friends, to meet you. They're good people, usually. We're not going to bring anybody that's going to disrespect you or be mean or anything like that. So, they're our friends and we want you to, get to know them and we think you'll like them, and then that icebreaker sometimes, it's like what I said, don't talk at them as if they're just this object of, or this energy, they have names, and they have souls, their energy, they're people, they were people, we just can't interact the same way that we interact with you guys. It's not always the same. And so, but they're still people though, and you'll find that as soon as you start treating them like real people, they will start acknowledging you like people. So, and then you'll get the activity that you want usually.
Yeah. B3 Aerospace is saying moving into a haunted house is silly. Asking for trouble, and Whispers from the Dead says living in a haunted home is not fun with negatives. Well, yeah,
No.
I wouldn't want to live in a haunted house with negative spirits. That's what I'm saying. Nothing malevolent or anything like that. But I brought it up a few weeks ago, and it was a story with a guy that I used to work with from years back, and I hadn't thought of this guy for forever until whatever the heck spurred the thought a couple weeks ago. But I'll bring it up again here. He lived with, a couple of gay spirits in his house. They had been a gay couple. They both died, but they came back and were living in his house. And so he had a working arrangement with them. The one was a little bit of a jokester, a little bit of a prankster, would kind of move things around and whatnot. But for the most part, they had a good working relationship there, and he basically viewed it as they're still living in their old house here. Just I also happen to live here too. So to me, that seemed like they had really worked out an arrangement to be able to cohabitate this place together. So like something like that, I think I'm probably fine with,
Yeah.
So I know with you, you kept there was that little girl that you kind of bonded with.
Yeah, the very first haunted place that I lived in Alton, and it, it was a shock, to see her. I wasn't really expecting it. Like I really hadn't gotten into it that much yet. She was what broke me in. And sometimes I was a little creeped out by it. But I started getting used to it because to me, I just started, really focusing on the fact, there's this little girl, it's a child. I love children. And and she looked like a child. And so I started treating her, offering, as long as my kids weren't there, I started, reading books to her and stuff. And she, I didn't really want her to get to know my kids because they were younger and I didn't know how they would react. I didn't know if it would emotionally traumatize them or anything like that. So I thought it best to just keep it between us adults. I know my then boyfriend at the time is not watching this, but it's funny because he thought I was crazy. And then I told her one night, "Why don't you go up there and say hi?" Yeah. And so the next thing I'm like, "Oh, okay." So she's gone. And then the next thing I hear is a yell from upstairs and barreling down those stairs like he's on fire. And there's something upstairs in the room with me. And so, yeah, I mean, it became kind of a joke, after that. But he realized, hey, I think there might be something to this. Maybe she's not crazy after all. And then he definitely experienced some stuff afterwards, and some of it was not always good. And neither were the spirits in the house. There were some others that were definitely not. Finally, showdown time where it's just like, look, you cannot be here in his house anymore because I cannot deal with the activity that you're causing. Tried to be nice, tried to be respectful. Not the little girl, this is another one. Tried to be respectful and be like, look, if we're both going to be in his house, then you need to calm down. You need to not be doing so much, stuff to interfere with my daily life. I'm not going out of my way to interrupt yours. Then whenever I was getting out of the shower one night and saw this man behind me whenever I unfogged the mirror, that was it. That's my privacy.
Now, see, that would
invaded.
be a haunting we would not want in a house that we lived in.
No.
The little girl, fine, but him, no.
Yeah, I was beyond mad that night. And I was like, you've got to go. You cannot do this. That kind of behavior is not okay. And there were some others, that moved in and out, but that was the one that got me the most. So, and I could tell when he left. I mean, I never saw him again after that, but I could see the details of his features just like it was yesterday. Adam could probably draw him.
There you go. Sean Gilmore asks, what do you feel is the best way to learn a spirit or ghost name? Ask. Just ask. Good example is a time that I was at a cemetery. I actually posted about this. A couple times. I posted the EVP a few times. And then I told the story of Lima or Lima Cemetery, whichever one you pronounce it, in Oklahoma a number of weeks back. In any case, so we're there. We'd finished up a paranormal investigation. The couples whose house we investigated put us onto the cemetery on our way back home. And so we went out there to check it out. It was really kind of a rustic old cemetery. At least carved headstones, like hand carved, like they were like
Oh, I love
chiseling
those.
in by hand. One was done in like black magic marker. You know, it's like crazy stuff. But I was standing by one of the gates, like along the railing, and just kind of looking into the cemetery. I'm taking photographs and whatnot. And the psychic medium that was with us at the time, and you know, she's the one I've talked about before, where we left because we knew that she was, you know, making shit up. But she was one of those people where it's like she had something legit going on, but then made it out to be more than what it was. But this was one of those times where her legit shit was coming forward, and so she's like, "Hey, Mike, there's a spirit standing in front of you right now." I'm like, "Oh, okay." You know, I couldn't see it, but you know, I just did what I do, which is like, you know, I introduced myself. You know, I was like, "Hi, how are you? My name is Michael," and I got immediately for a response, "Edward." Boom, name. I was talking Edward. So, so you do. I mean, they're people. You just talk to them like people, and so that was just an introductory. Hey, you know, how are you doing? This is who I am, and the natural response from a human being would be to reciprocate with a name. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't always happen. I mean, how many times have we sat there in the dark saying, you know, what's your name? You know, and have gotten nothing, even though we're experiencing paranormal activity. But,
Can you give us a name? Something, anything.
you know, but here's this random moment one time, just just like casual conversation. Boom, there's a name.
Don't use a ghost box or a spirit app
No.
trying to get a name because it'll throw a name out. It's programmed to do that. But that doesn't mean that that's what that spirit's name is. So please God, don't use those for that. Don't use those for anything, but especially don't use them for that.
Donna says, "Well, you don't want a child spirit watching you in the shower either." Well, no, but I don't think the little girl was watching you in the shower.
I made it a point because I knew there was a child in the house to be like, you know, whenever I'd be going to leave and that's what I always felt bad too. Whenever I'd leave. Because I would leave my own child unattended at that age. And I'm always like, I don't know if somebody watches you or whatever, but and be like, if there's somebody that watches over this child, I've got to go. You know, I'll be right back. You know, she always seemed fine when I came back. You know, I don't know if there's some kind of daycare for spirits. I don't know how that happens. You know, I don't know the rules, but I would always be pretty mindful, you know, or I'm going to go and do this in the house, or I'm going to go take a shower. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get cleaned up. I'll be right back. I never felt like her energy was, you know, following me everywhere I went. So at least she minded. Not like some other ones that I've come into contact with, but, you know, she seemed to be a very well-mannered child. So, you know, I never really had to get on to her. I was sorry to have to leave her. I wouldn't have minded if she followed me. But I think that she was, you know, fond of me while I was there and attached me while I was there. But once I left, she did not follow.
Did you ever find out a name for her?
Nope.
Okay. Adam Tillery is in the house.
Adam.
So I'd like to take this time. So what he says, I'd like to take this time while the connection is good. Banner change, Mike. Yeah, we have been changing up our branding quite a bit. So I do have a new banner. It's a vertical banner. It's different than this, but it has more of the new, where it's basically it's like black and blue, using St. Joe's, the St. Joe's hallway up there on the third floor. That it does get a lot of activity. I threw the shadow guy that's back behind Shauna is also. You see him? He's right there.
Yeah.
He's also in that as well. Actually, no, he's not on the banner. That's something I screwed up because I was trying to get there. They had a 50% off sale, and I was trying to get in time to do it, and I forgot to put the shadow guy in that. But like all the other,
a pretty cool banner.
I like it.
Your face is huge.
Oh, boom! It's like huge.
It's like,
yeah.
Bam. Wow.
So I'll have that in the call. But yeah, it's I have it on the. I've switched out Twitter with it. I've put it out there on Facebook and whatnot. So it's gotten out to a lot of different locations. But this hasn't been changed up yet. But Adam's right. You know, branding changed. Of course, we have his logo that he created last year. So we've been doing some branding here. Oh, that's not the banner change that he's talking about. That's the banner change he's talking about. Oh my God, yeah. So he's talking about that. Go on and on and on. Like,
in our defense, it was kind of a tumultuous hour.
it
The last
has
show.
been, the entire crazy internet night has been, just like that.
I think every hour on the hour tomorrow, I'm going to be calling Frontier just because I'm going to bother them and be like, well, you were kind of a pain in my ass last night, so I'm going to be a pain in yours today. Maybe you guys should update the town. This is not Pioneer Days where we're rubbing, rocks together to try to spark a signal. Fucking fix it. Do something. Get with the times, man.
Something. Upgrade your wiring.
Yeah.
From Betty Lange, how can you get a spirit to leave your home, or can you? Well, you can. I mean, you can cleanse a home, and our episode that we did on the haunted was mostly on that, where we cleansed that house, and that was more of a nefarious spirit that was in there. But
I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. I just told it to get the fuck out.
In
those words, get the fuck out of my house. It wasn't there when I got there. And so I feel like
it was messing with your Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that one, I was up all night. I was determined. I sat vigil over the roaster oven because as soon as I'd leave the room, it would turn off the roaster oven. And I was sure I was losing my damn mind. It's like, well, maybe I left on. But then, so I was like, after about the second or third time, I was like, no. I know I'm turning this oven on. So finally, I turned it on and I parked my chair right in the middle of the kitchen floor and watched that thing. And pretty soon, I would hear something over there, and I'd look up and would watch, and that knob would be slowly turning itself off as if I would not notice that, And so finally, I put my foot down, and I was like, you cannot be here. You cannot be here. And it wasn't even the same energy as the shadow or as the shower guy. It was something totally different because that guy left that night right after my shower. So I'm standing there dripping in a damn towel. I'm you need to get the fuck out of my house. This behavior is not okay. You need to get out. But me standing in the middle of my kitchen, thankfully my kids were not there because surely that would have traumatized them. But it is what it is. That kind of behavior is not okay. So, and I didn't do anything with salt. I didn't do anything with, stone spells. I wasn't really into that as much then, I had been, in starting to explore cemeteries and read up on some haunted history.
What was those experiences at that house that kind of launched you into all this?
And then we were, investigating. I was going out, I had a recorder, but I didn't have video camera. I was taking just regular pictures with my phone and just had a recorder, and that's it. And that's all I needed. And it worked just fine. I was getting stuff, all the time, but, but I was having, personal, like feelings, like personal experiences and stuff at different places. And then, I would research and find out, what the hell's going on at this place. And then I would read and be like, oh, that's what's going on at this place. So it started confirming some of the stuff that I was feeling. So low-key, I was probably starting to develop some stuff then. And I was just like, well, I don't know what this is, but whatever it is, it's kind of cool. So, I didn't really have a name for it. Then, I could hear dead people on a recorder. Yeah. I could feel stuff. That's about it.
Karen Whitaker's funny. She says, I wish we could ask the ghost to please clean our houses. If I was a ghost, somebody asked to clean my house, I'd give them a big FU because it's like, I just spent my whole life working my ass off. You think I want to be cleaning your house in the afterlife?
I used to, at the same house at Alton, the spirit used to constantly turn the lights off whenever I'd leave, or turn the lights on whenever I'd leave the room. And my mom had come over one time and we were getting ready to go somewhere. She goes, you need to turn the light off in the basement. It's wasting electricity. We're not going to be here. I'm like, the basement light was off. So I would go and turn it back off again. And I'd be like, and they didn't know, really, I kind of left my mom kind of in the dark about that kind of stuff. My dad, I would let him know some of the stuff that was going on. I needed someone to not think I was crazy. I didn't know how my mom would
You're
react to
not
it.
crazy.
Yeah, so, that's however many years ago. Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, I knew stuff was going on, but I told my mom, but then I'd hear a click, I knew it was coming back on again. I'm like, well, you know, but there was all kinds of stuff. And then finally I said, look, if you're going to turn the lights on, then you can start paying for the electric bill. You can start helping me pay for this electricity that you're using. So then I was like, well, maybe if I turn the light on, will it turn it off? I turn the light. It's like, hey, can you turn the light off? Thanks. And that didn't work, by the way. Reverse psychology doesn't work on spirits either. But yeah, there's I have a lot of stories. I really need to write a book.
Yeah. Yes, you do. And Sean Gilmore says, I did that a couple weeks ago. My front door swung open violently. I sat up and yelled, oh, hell no, get the fuck out of my house. I went up to my door. I yelled, stay out, and then slammed my door shut. There you go.
I mean, if you're putting enough, emotion, enough intent behind it, you probably don't need salt or anything like that. Your will, your own energy might be enough to act as a barrier. It's your house.
It's your house. Own it. Own it. All right. Well, I think we ought to get wrapping up. So this will be, I guess, part 2 of Trigger Objects, since we just got, inadvertently interrupted right in the middle of it.
Feel free to leave comments on the replay after it posts, because, whatever you think, we didn't hear about, leave it in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Leave the comments, share out the videos, all that great stuff. We got some of your names for this guy, so we'll see.
I know which one I like.
I know. So so let's go ahead and get down into the shout outs. I know that there were some super chats in there that I think they're not registering now because we had to reset everything, but pretty sure there was one in there from Tom McNicholas.
There was one from Patrick, I thought.
Yeah, there was one from Patrick. Yes, Patrick Snaggletooth was in there the first time around. First show, there was one from Rawl. So, thank you guys. Appreciate that. So, real quickly from Judy. How long did you live there, Shauna? Like 5 years or something?
Yeah, about 5 years.
Okay.
And then as soon as I moved out of there was like a 3-month time period where I lived with a friend of mine before moving back to Campsville. And her house was haunted as shit too. So, but hers was already there before I got there. So, and then I moved home again to a town that I didn't really realize had all that stuff going on. But after I'd already been exposed to it, it kind of, opened the channels a little bit, so to speak, and then things really started happening. So.
Oh, and also for our replay viewers, because it kind of got obliterated due to all the technical issues that we had. The housekeeping that we did at the beginning of Edge of the Rabbit Hole, which nobody ever saw, except for those that were watching live. So Kerry Parrish had his transplant operation. They did find a new liver, a new pancreas for him, so he underwent that. He's recovering, and so hope he recovers well. Our friend Dawn Francisco, her father passed away, so our condolences and much positive energy toward her and her family. And then our friend Denise Pridemore is going through a lot of health issues right now. Been in the hospital a lot, and so we.
But also like some good juju and whatever else positive energy for Rita.
For Rita, yes, because she's going.
Didn't want to mention anything while she was on the show. I didn't get permission, but she's going through a little bit of health crisis right now. So definitely could use some positive energy for her.
Yep, for Rita as well, definitely.
Yes.
So, all right. So let's get into the shout outs. B3 Aerospace saying, great shows. You did the best you could with the Possessed Frontier night. Yeah, it's freaking, but there's a part of me that still wants to blame Skype too, because we've been having a lot more issues ever since Skype forced me to update. Ever since it forced me to update, I've had issues like every week. Even the 1 week in there where it mostly seemed to go really well when we had Rob Guttrow, and I forget what the Inside the Upside Down was. The Inside the Upside Down episode was flawless. But with Rob Guttrow, it just inadvertently killed the show right in the middle, so we ended up with 2 parts.
Right.
So that was the one week things went fine. But every other week since Skype updated has been just a mess. So I still want to partially blame Skype as well, even though I know part of it is the internet issue today, because I have had throughout the day when I was working and all that was having some issues. So in any case, shout outs. So we got B3 Aerospace. So one of our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. So Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons, which we needed some questions from you guys for the Q&A video. In any case, Tom McNicholas, B3 Aerospace, Zippy Davis, BD Flint, Pamela Queen, and Don Francisco. No, Andrew Cox. Don had been, but yeah, Andrew Cox. So that's the 6 for, and then there are a lot of other people that are patrons in there as well. Don is still a patron, but the Deep Down the Rabbit Hole is the higher level. So yeah, so there's B3 Aerospace. There's Betty Lange. There's the Haglin. Donald Gorton, thank you, of course, for Cheshire Cat chatting the chat tonight in both shows. Really do appreciate that. There's Judy Wilson. Fungi. She says, Booyah McBones. That's kind of a fun one, Booyah McBones. I still, there's some good. You guys have come up with some good ones. There's Bree Jones. Thanks, Bree. Snaggletooth Patrick. It says positive thoughts for all the Mad Hatters. Yes, positive for all Mad Hatters. Absolutely. There's the Haglin. We got Mickey Dole. Thanks, Mickey, for joining us tonight. Sharon Lane. Sharon Lane was talking about binge watching today. She liked the Elder House video. It was very cool. Thank you, Sharon, for binge watching.
Great venue.
Yep, it really is. So, Sean Gilmore, thanks for hanging out tonight. We will have the full Old Licking County Jail video out for Friday instead of Friday Night Ghost Friends. We'll just go with that. So you guys will have some extended viewing because there's a lot that went on in that investigation. So you'll like it. And so I know Sean will like all the stuff with his parapooch. There's Kathy Ciliento. Thanks, Kathy, for joining us. Tim Schoen. Hey, we will see you this weekend. And that is the Afterlife Paranormal Conference in DeKalb, Illinois. Come check it out and join us for that. I'll be doing my shadow person presentation. So I think I got Bree Jones. There's Tracy Christian. Thanks, Tracy, for joining us again. The Haunted Explorers. Thanks for joining us tonight. There's Tom McNicholas. Hey, Tom. And there's Robert. Good to see you there, Robert. Chipper Terry, thanks for joining us again tonight. I know we had some newer people in here. There was what was the Whispers one I saw in here earlier? There's Squillfish, thanks for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. There's Karen Whitaker, of course. Thank you, Karen, for joining us once again. And I'm going to scroll back down. So anybody wants a shout out, get it in now. There's Dream Hunter. Very cool. All right. And, oh, yeah, of course, Adam Tillery.
Adam Tillery.
Yeah, it was Whispers from the Dead. Yeah, it was Whispers. Adam Tillery. Adam! You have some awesome illustrations. Please email them to me. All right. So Betty Lange says, thanks, Mike and Shauna, for working so hard. Well, thank you for joining us and always being here.
Sticking with us.
Yeah, sticking with us through all the crazy stuff. She says, Cheshire catting the chat.
Cheshire catting
the chat. Apparently, yeah. I've been saying it wrong. Cheshire catting.
Chatting.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the Cheshire cat chatting the chat.
Cheshire catting the
She
chat.
says Cheshire catting the chat. Yeah. So, Jill Nimchinsky, good to see you. All right. Anybody else? I think that's probably about it. Adam says digital files coming Thursday. Tomorrow's Hannah's birthday. Well, happy birthday to Hannah. All right. That's awesome. So, all right. I think that's it. We've dragged this out long enough. Not trying to drag it out. I mean, we tried to do the best that we could for tonight and just, and just chat with you guys about all these different things that, that we've experienced that you might be able to relate to, that you might have questions about, what have you. I mean, we're inside the Upside Down. We take a paranormal or supernatural topic and we just roll with it. And so, I mean, I kind of viewed this as like a block of videos with Zara the zombie doll, starting with the Friday Night Ghost Frights. Well, actually, it started with the Haunted Dolls episode. With the Haunted Dolls, she's not haunted.
Not yet.
Yeah. We had the Friday Night Ghost Frights episode that featured her. Go check it out if you haven't yet. And then, of course, we finished that up with Trigger Objects, which is what we believe she was during that investigation.
So she will continue to go to Mineral Springs with us and everywhere else we go.
Yeah.
Just to see if it triggers if it triggers everywhere we go. So, yeah, she's going to be a staple.
Yep, absolutely.
Regular. Like Ghostie.
Like Ghostie. So, that Ghostie.
Yeah, Ghostie guards.
That Ghostie. He's the original over there.
Ghost. This one guards.
He's
Zara out here in the studio until I feel brave enough to bring her in the house because I don't even like dolls. I think they're creepy. But even without the paint job, I've actually considered going to like thrift stores, dollar stores, or whatever, and grabbing some dolls and some paints,
do them up and sell them,
and doing some more like this, and
And she always told me she wasn't crafty.
I'm not. I mean, this face just spoke to me, though, I mean,
it's pretty creepy.
Had to black out her eyeballs with a Sharpie and yeah. So, red fingernail polish in the corners of her eyes to make them look like they were bleeding and but I did not.
You didn't poke her eye out.
I didn't poke her eyes out like some other people were doing to their dolls, and I did not grab the really hot tool to give her a burn scar or anything like that like other people were doing. If you go to the It's Raining Zen page and go back a little bit on their videos, and Dave, the owner of Zen, did a video as they were like walking out, as some of the dolls were walking out, and there are some seriously disturbing.
There are some creepy ones. There are definitely some creepy ones.
My first one was almost a baby. I almost got a baby, and I couldn't wrap my mind around it. So I found this one, and the reason that I picked her, I braided her hair. She had like wild hair, but the reason that I picked her is because she reminded me of my very first ghost. So that's kind of why I picked her.
So that looks like the little girl you were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
Her hair, this one's a little bit more golden. The other one had a little bit paler. But, yeah, kind of looked like her, and that's why I chose her.
Sean has changed his suggestion from boner to bony.
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 Yeah, boner was mine today.
Fungi, ghosty lasternum. What the heck? Yeah, B3 Aerospace. Go to bed, children. See you next week. I know we already did. We wrapped up the shout outs a while ago. We're going on and on. All right, everybody. You have a great night. Stay tuned for the investigation video on Friday. Hopefully, we'll see a number of you this coming weekend at the Afterlife Paranormal Conference.
And then try to go live.
Try to go live. Try. We'll try.
We're hoping that DeKalb has a good internet signal. I've never been there, but it's close enough to Chicago. Maybe it will.
I hope so.
Let's hope so.
I really freaking hope so. So, and we'll see you next week. We'll have Ghost Crier back for next week.
Okay.
So, all right, everybody, take care. Have a great night. See you next time.